So we have Chris Patillo from the California Genealogical Society with us tonight. And Chris has been a member since 1972. So she must have been in preschool when she joined. She's currently a member of the board and also chair of the library committee and chair of the website content committee. My goodness, very inspiring. And she's also co-chairing the local volunteer committee for the 2022 National Genealogical Society Conference. So we're very lucky to have Chris with us tonight. She's going to give us a live tour of the website and talk to us all about all the resources and benefits that the society offers. If there's anything you want to add, Chris, feel free.
No, I think that covers the key things. So the first thing I want to just point out here, you can see my purple finger, californiaancestors.org. That takes you right to our website. And what I'm showing you now is what you will see when you go to the website. We have here what we call the banner. And on the right-hand side, we list the sort of current most active things that are happening to the society. So, and our webmaster changes and updates these things very regularly. So taking a look at what is listed here will give you a very quick sort of glimpse as to what's the most active and current things happening. If you scroll down just a little bit, you can see our COVID policy, and there's a couple of links there if you want more detail. If you keep scrolling down, you will see these three boxes, and this is another place where we highlight important things for our visitors. One of the most important is here about the classes and events. And if you click on this read more button, it will take you to all of the classes that have been scheduled, and you can sign up and register for those classes right there. Now, what Diane was alluding to is the upcoming National Genealogical Society meeting of 2022. The California Genealogical Society is the host society, and so we are promoting it. And I will encourage you after this talk to follow this link, and it will take you to a page on our website that tells you a little bit about the conference that's coming up. If you want to get a copy of the brochure is already out, and there's the link to it, so you can get it right here from our website. Scrolling down, you can read a little bit about some of the promotion that's happening in our blog, but most important, since I'm the co-chair of the volunteer committee, I do want to encourage you to take a look at this. We will need to recruit about 700 hours of volunteers. And this lists all the different kinds of volunteer positions. If you've gone to conferences, you're familiar with the things that need to be done. So I hope that you will spend some time looking at that. So that's my my advertisement for the evening. And now I want to get right into the meat of what you've asked me to talk about, which is what resources are available to you at the CGS library. So I'm going to start here on this library pull-down menu. And before you come, either as a group or as individuals, you should take a look at this link right here, planning a visit. And it gives you just all the basic information that you need to know to be well prepared to come to the library. Register in advance. Again, you can read the detailed COVID material. This is one way you can get to the library catalog, and I'll come back to that. But you can see here, help, Wi-Fi, lockers, lunch, making copies, use fees, all of the information that you need to have a successful visit is right here on that page. So it's a perfect place to start to prepare for your visit. Something that's new is a map of the library. And this is something that we just realized would be helpful to people. It basically tells you where things are. So you enter the library here where it says entry. This big green block here, those are our stacks. We have 38,000 books. So lots of books. Up here in the corner, this is the California room, and that's where we have all of our books about California. We also have a very large collection of city directories, and they're located here. So this is handy. So what's in the library? That basically is the question you asked me to talk about. So here is a quick summary of the kind of material that we have in the library. We have books and periodicals. I just mentioned city directories. We do have computers that are ready for patrons to use, including internet access and subscription websites. And down here, you can see a list of all of the websites that are available. So if you're not paying for these, you can access them from our website. Now, something else that's very new, just about 2 weeks ago, we were officially designated as an affiliate library to Family Search. So this means that from our computers, you can get access to some of the records that are not available from home. You know, Family Search has tons of things you can reach from your home computer, but from the CGS library, there are even more records that you can access. So I think before you come for a visit, it would be helpful to read some of this material, and you'll have a very good sense of what is available. One of the really important things that I want to talk about is using the library catalog. And I don't know how many of you do this routinely. I know I never used to use it. If you want to, you can look at this video, and it tells you how to use the WorldCat catalog. But it's so easy, you don't really need to watch that video. You can click on this link right here. And it brings up this page on how to do a search. And you can see that you can enter a keyword, you can enter a book title, you can enter an author. But I'm just going to type in Tennessee. And then I'm going to hit the search button. Okay. And so immediately it shows you what books are available at the California Genealogical Society Library about the state of Tennessee. And it gives you the title and the author and the dates and some other information. If you scroll down, it tells you that at the CGS library, we have 269 books with information about Tennessee, and which of those are in print, on microfilm, ebooks, and we have 347 articles about Tennessee. So you can tell that we have quite a few resources. Now, my ancestors are from Carter County, Tennessee. So that's really what I'm interested in. So I'm going to put in Carter. And I'm going to hit the search again. And if I scroll down, now I see that we actually have 8 books about Carter County, Tennessee, which is pretty darn good as far as I'm concerned. So I'm just going to take a little breather right here and ask if anybody has any questions.
Chris, I know that you wrote a series of articles about the library, the books that you had in each regarding each state.
I did.
Is that available in your archive somewhere?
It is. Thank you for asking that question. I'm going to go back. So right here, you can link to our blog. And what you're referring to is, I kept hearing comments from people, and this is going to take a minute to come up, it looks like, that people didn't really know what we had in our library. And so I got it in my head to write a series of blog posts. And what I did is I would just go to the library, and I started with Alabama, and I stood there in front of the shelves and took kind of a quick look. So, some of our collections for some states are quite small, so I could write about every book we have. But for other states, we literally have hundreds of books. So I tried to just highlight and feature a few things about the collection. So we are now on the blog, and there's a search box here. So if I enter Tennessee and hit the search bar, it will bring up everything, all the blog posts about Tennessee. And here it is. The series that I wrote is called Our Library Collections, and this is the blog post on Tennessee. So to catch people's eyes, I tried to pick kind of provocative images, and I really liked this particular photograph. And so each blog post in this series was about a specific state. And so if you're from Connecticut and you want to know what resources we have, this will not give you an exhaustive description, but it would be a good place to start to give you kind of a feeling or a sense of how many books we have about Connecticut and how many periodicals we have, things of that nature. So it's another way to get a sense of what is available in our library for Tennessee. So going to the blog is another possibility. Any other questions?
Yes, Chris, where are you located?
Oh, well, let's go back to the home page. In fact, I now realize I kind of got ahead of myself, but so whenever I want to, I can just go back to home, and we can scroll down to the very bottom. And here is our address, telephone number, fax number, and email. So that is all there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any
other? Yes.
Yes. I have a relative that was in the U.S. military after the Civil War, came out here and was at posted a number of places in California. Bidwell, Churchill, and ended up in the Presidio. Yeah. And down in Arizona for a while and so forth. And I would like to get more information on him and his family. Do you have anything along those lines?
Yes, we very well do. First, I can say we have a tremendous number of books about Civil War. But if I were you, what I would do is I would come up here to library, research, and I would do the names search. So,
okay.
click on that. This is Pat Smith. She is the chair of our research committee. And I'm going to talk about everything on the research page, but since you asked that question, I'll just go right to this. Down at the bottom, you can enter a name, and I'm going to enter my name. I can do a search. And you have to scroll back down. I don't know why that is, but here we are. This is my grandfather's brother, Elmer. And what it's telling me is that CGS has access to his probate record. So when I find something about an ancestor, I can then go to the research committee and request that they look up that information, copy it, and email it or mail it to me. Now, if you enter a name like Murphy, takes not too long, but you get a lot more responses, which is pretty cool. So what you want to do then is look in the first name until you find the particular Murphy that you're looking for. And you can see this goes on at least 26 pages of Murphys. So if you're looking for specific information about an individual, you definitely want to look here.
Okay.
One of the projects.
Try Wagner.
Wagner, okay, let's do it. We'll do
Wagner.
one more. Back here, yeah, I bet that's going to have a lot too.
And I cannot remember his first name right now, but he was a colonel.
There you go. You got a few Wagners to look at. And it goes down and looks like at least seven pages of Wagners.
Ah, might have his daughters in there and his wife. Okay.
It might. Okay. Let us know when you plan to come in.
Carol,
All
when are
right.
we going?
I'm going to go back to the home page again.
Question.
Yes.
Is this information available online from home, or do you have to go to to Oakland to get access to this information that you're showing us now?
No, for the lookups, or what you do is you contact the research committee, and there's actually on this page instructions about how to have them send it. So read the rest of this information, but basically we will get the information and we will send it to you.
This can all be done from home, basically.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Got it.
Oh,
All right.
that's lovely.
Yeah, it's a really great tool. I want to come back to the home page and just quickly show you these other major features. One of them is we have special interest groups, which from sitting in on your meeting tonight, I can tell that you have similar, like we have a DNA SIG and other special interest groups. One of the things, the e-news comes out once a month, and you don't have to be a member to sign up for and receive the e-news. So if you haven't already signed up for our e-news, I would encourage you to do so. It only comes out once a month, so it's not like you're going to be bombarded with emails. But it's a way to know sort of what's going on and what's coming. And then visit the library. I'll be talking more about that. We also have a handful of videos, and hopefully tonight's presentation will be added here. Here's another way to sign up for the e-news. And if you are interested in talking to a researcher, this is where one way you can get to a researcher. And then at the very bottom of the home page, We do have a few items for sale, books that we've produced and a few other items. And if you click on that link, you can find those. If you care to make a donation to the society at any point, there's numerous ways to do it. Leave a suggestion. This is actually a new feature on the website. So if you have a suggestion or a question, this is a good place for it. And then finally, at the bottom of the page, there's a CGS calendar. So that's a good way to see what's going on at a glance. And sounds like you're on Facebook, so are we, and Twitter and Instagram and all these crazy things. So that's sort of the overview of the top page. So coming back to the library, I think I basically have gone through all of those items, except I'll just mention that if you need directions or wanting to know where to park, that's there. So the next thing I want to draw your attention to is the research page. And, depending on how beginning, intermediate, advanced you are, looking at the research tools will be more or less helpful. But I think, it's a good way, you spend a little time reading these things, checking out some of these links. This is another way to get to the name search, which I just showed you. This is a way to get to our online resources, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. This is another way to get to the library catalog. So good information available there. Here again is the name search. And here's where I want to spend the next chunk of time. Okay, so here is online resources. So actually, you don't have to come into the library to look at these things. So in a way, it would make sense for you to spend time here and seeing what you can from home, so that when you do come into the library, you can focus your time looking at the things that are not available online. So this photograph right here, this is actually taken in our manuscripts room. And we do have a very wonderful collection of manuscripts. These are literally one-of-a-kind documents. And we're actually in the process of scanning the contents of those boxes. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that shortly. Of all of the materials that are available online, many of them are, as you can see, free to all. So you don't have to be a member to access some of this information. So again, we have the surname index. One of the things I haven't mentioned to you is when COVID hit, we all had all this extra time on our hands. And so the website content committee seized on that. And we wanted to get more material on our website. And so we drafted our now people who have lots of time on their hands, we've drafted them, and they have been scanning and digitizing and indexing literally tens of thousands of records. So this surname index, this one project, we have added more than 72,000 new records during COVID. So for any of you who have been members of the society and you've already looked at some of these things, you should know that since COVID, we have added huge volumes of new information on our website. So The next thing down here, if you were interested in finding out more about the manuscripts collection, here is an index, and it tells you what is in there. This document is 64 pages long. Now, let me say that again. This is just the index. So imagine it's huge. The amount of information that we have in these manuscripts is huge. And if you want to go through, you can see all the different kinds of information that we have in these manuscripts. It's truly a treasure trove of records. And in a minute, I will get to some of this has already been scanned. Similarly, we have vertical files. Now, the difference between a manuscript and a vertical file is really just the size. Manuscripts tend to be large collections that some of them take up to like a dozen or more of those boxes that are just packed with original documents, original photographs, pedigree charts, everything. Vertical files, these things tend to be smaller, just in like maybe a handwritten letter. And again, we have an index. And so you can look up, and these things are searchable. So you can do Control F and say, search for Murphy, and it will highlight every Murphy in here. And again, to give you a sense of how big this is, the index alone, 224 pages. So it's a massive, massive amount of unique records. These are not things that you're going to find on Ancestry or Family Search. These are unique, many of them, not all, but many of them, one-of-a-kind documents that you're not going to find anywhere except our library. So it's worth some time taking a look at these things. Over the years, in the 20s and the 50s, our members have created pedigree charts. This is an index of all of the names that are listed on those pedigree charts. So it gives you the name of the chart, and this is the actual, how the chart is named. And again, 529 pages just of the index. So a huge, huge amount of information. So you could spend a week just on our website before you come into the library. Not that I want to discourage you. I want you to come into the library, but I want you to make your time there as productive as it can be. This next section, collections of the California Genealogical Society on the Family Search website. So I don't know exactly how this came to be, but you know, you're well aware that the Family Search library collects information from myriad sources. And at one point, they, I guess, invited our society to lend them some items that we had, and they scanned them, and you can see all of the things that are listed here, but you would go to the Family Search website. So this material is scanned and available. Now this, profiles of the signers of the 1849 California Constitution, this is a new edition. This is something else that our members took on during COVID. And what it is, this is an ebook. Now, and I'll click on that link, and this is the cover of this book. And what this is described here in this text. But basically, several years ago, 2002, here it is, one of our members basically wrote the text of this book. And they had originally intended for this book to be published in hard copy, and we would sell it as a way of generating revenue for the society. Every person who signed the original Constitution of California, there's a photograph, there's a signature, and there's the family history of every one of those people. So this book is available on our website for free, which I think is much better than having it stuffed in some box in somebody's closet, which is where it had been for several years. If you continue moving down, you get to this section that's titled Members Only Records. And you have to be logged in to access these. And I am logged in. And so all of these records are 1921 ancestors, 1920 pedigree charts, 1944 genealogies, 1950s. All of these records were scanned and indexed by our volunteers during COVID. We have kept many of our people from going stir crazy because they've actually enjoyed doing this work. And now it's all available on the website. So here is so these are pedigree charts that were done by CGS members in the 1950s. There's a brief description of what I basically just said to you. And all of the names of the trees that were scanned, all these names, every one of these was an individual tree created. We've scanned them all and indexed them all. And you can click here on any one of those names and you can see the pedigree chart. And you can see that it is multiple pages long and really just a massive amount of information. And again, probably, I mean, there might be a few other copies of this document, but there's not going to be very many copies of this. So some of this information is, one of a kind, unique resources. 1920s pedigree charts. So the same thing, I've clicked on that. So for each of these, there's a description of what the collection consists of. This one right here, it says in 1920, volunteer Ron Matson photographed every chart. They're a bit too big for most scanners. He made this video of the process. And so you can see the video from here, and you can also see the video from our homepage under that tab of videos. And it's really interesting to see how he did it, because these books, when they were opened, were probably about 30 inches wide and about 25 inches high and very heavy. And there were literally hundreds of these charts. And Ron had this elaborate setup, and he took photographs of each of these. This is what they look like. And I know it's very, very small, but you can blow it up and you can see that it's actually very clear. And you can keep blowing it up. And then you can move around in this pedigree chart and you can turn it, because you notice some of the names were written in different directions. Here it's upside down, but these now, Esther Smith with birth date, marriage date, death date, and the places, Anna Harris. So again, one-of-a-kind resources with massive amounts of information. And every name that is on every one of those charts has been indexed. So if you're looking for a particular name like Wagner, you could do this, look at the index, go down to Wagner, and you wouldn't find it, but you would find Wag or Waglin, which is kind of a surprise. Wadsworth, lots of Wadsworths. So this is something else that you might want to do from home. Just look and see if you have an ancestor who's listed on one of these trees. And then you could either look at the image of the tree online, or when you come to the library, you can physically pull that book off the shelf and look at it, the live thing. There are a few newspaper articles connected. There are a few photographs, but not very many. So anyway, the 1921 ancestors is similar. The 1944 genealogies is similar. I also been talking about our manuscripts. So one of our diehard members has been taking those manuscript boxes home and scanning every single thing that is inside those boxes. And so far he has finished 3 of the collections, and he's working on a 4th. So here again is a brief description that tells you who Frank Covell was. He is actually a past president of CGS, and it tells you here some of the surnames that are mentioned in this collection. And if you want to find more detail about this collection, you can click on this link, and you can now see we have basically another index, although it's called a finding aid here. It's 18 pages long. So in box 1, you have a letter dated January 31st, 1926, Saratoga, California, a handwritten by Frank Covell to his granddaughter. And you can see that every one of these things is a live link. So if you want to see this photograph, there's the photograph, including the back of the photograph, and another photograph, and again, the back of the photograph. So a huge, huge amount of information available on our website. So Frank Covell, Dr. Griffin, and John Ellis Hale, all 3 of these men are past presidents of CGS, and each of them left us very large collections of material. So records from the San Francisco Congregational Church and notices from San Francisco newspapers. This material has been on our website for many, many years. If you've been to our website before, you probably have already looked at that material. So really the goodies are these new resources developed since COVID. One of the other things you'll find on the research page are research links. And I'm sure you're familiar with links. We have several of them: California State Library, World Cat, California Gen Web, the Huntington Library, and it goes on and on and on. And the nice thing is our webmaster is very dutiful about checking and making sure that all of these links work, so you don't run into dead ends. And if perchance you did, please go to the suggestion box on the home page and let us know that. So because we're the California Genealogical Society, one of the things, obviously, that we specialize in are California research. I pointed out earlier when I was showing you the map that we have an entire room devoted to California books. And it is organized by county. So you can come in and look for resources for every county in the state of California. And on this page, you can learn about different research tips for doing research about California. So here again, this may be of more or less interest to you. So newspapers, obituaries, cemeteries, more cemeteries, funeral home records. These are all suggestions of things that research tools that you can use to do California research. And you can see that this is very, very extensive. So a very good place to start California research. So I've mentioned we provide research services, and this is also something that you'll find on this research tab. And this is information about the research services that we provide and how you can access those services. Quite a bit of useful information. Send requests here, time required, pretty much everything you need to know. So there's a tab here once you've made up your mind and you know you want to purchase some research services, you can do that right here. So I think I've covered most of what I want to cover with that. And I almost think I've covered what I think I need to tell you about what we have available. That's it.
So is anybody ready to go for a field trip?
Good.
Just driving the bus.
We
Yeah.
welcome you.
Well, we'll try not to bring down a busload. We'll just keep it to a small group.
That would be perfect. That would be
Yeah,
perfect.
at least right now.
Great. All right.
Do you acquire things from other sources, or do you just have things that are donated directly to you?
Not quite sure how to answer that. We are frequently receiving donations, both in books, manuscripts, vertical files. People are constantly donating things to the library, and the job of the library committee is to process those sources, and we add them to the library. Things, if they're duplicates, we end up selling them on eBay. And we also do follow the literature, and if there are new books that are being published and coming out, we have a budget and we acquire new books as well. Does that answer that question?
And do you take mostly California things? I was thinking in terms of the people who submitted letters. And
yeah, no, I'm glad you asked that question. No, our library, even though we're the California Genealogical Society, we really do have resources for every state in the nation. Our resources beyond the United States are pretty light, but we do have a few England, Scotland, Ireland, Germany, not a whole lot beyond there. Maybe a handful of books about France, but so the vast majority are United States, and within that, a very large collection of California resources. But glad you asked that, because a lot of people, assume we're just California. We're not.
I guess, what about your manuscript collections? Do you accept manuscript collections from California
do.
residents or from anybody in the world, or?
You know, I'm pretty sure we will accept, if it's quality material, we have been accepting it. I will say our space is getting kind of full. So there probably are some limitations. And I think if someone came to us and they had a collection that was very large and better suited to another repository, we might refer them elsewhere. But generally, the policy is to continue to expand our library and our resources. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, yeah. I personally have facilitated 4 or 5 recent donations during COVID, and 2 of them had over 400 books in the collection.
Wow.
So we have brought in a lot of new material during COVID. Anything else?
I have a random question.
Yeah.
Do you have, I'm particularly interested in business records of some businesses in San Francisco and Alameda County. And one of them is the Ghirardelli Chocolate Company.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know if you have records or
Ah,
items relating to that, or I can go research your indexes?
yeah. The only thing that comes to mind is directories, which would provide little tidbits of information, but not any detail. That's not ringing a bell. I've never really heard anybody say anything like that. So I think the answer is no, but again, I would, maybe contact the research committee and ask that question. Yeah, if they have anything, they would know. The research committee would know if we have anything. Good question, though. Interesting. Okay. Well,
All right.
I had fun.